Good morning, Evergreen Online, and Happy New Year. I hope you had a good, safe time of ringing in the new year. Now, this morning we are hosting our first in-person gathering of 2024 with our special Mochizuki and Juk Park in the Church gathering. Now, Juk is a simple, savory rice porridge that's given a lot of flavor by some delicious toppings that you add to the dish. And mochi is a traditional sweet rice cake, often filled with red bean or eaten with a bunch of different types of sweet sauces or toppings. Now, some believe that it's good to eat Juk after New Year's because it allows your stomach to recover from all the overeating that you did over the holidays. And we eat mochi as a blessing for good health and prosperity in the new year. Of course, as Christians, we believe that our blessing comes from God ultimately, but we as a church embrace and celebrate these traditions of our culture as some of the fun, beautiful, and delicious parts of our historic heritage. Now, if you were in the LA area and you can still make it down to our Rosemead Church campus, hop in your car and come and enjoy this very special way of celebrating the new year with our congregation. Now, as the new year gets started, so does our in-person programming. Next week, we will resume our kind of typical worship services on campus as we introduce our 2024 annual theme and we look at the year to come. Now, we invite all of you to join us for service on our Rosemead campus. If you can't make it, then we hope to see you online as well. Now, with service beginning, we also start up much of our in-person programming that comes along with the normal week. Our children's ministry resumes with Sunday school and children's chapel starting at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. respectively. Our adult class offering begins with both in-person and online offerings at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings. And our youth ministry begins meeting again, both on Friday nights at 7:30 p.m. and on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. So if any of you are interested in those offerings or bringing your kids to some of those, then we definitely invite you and encourage you to come out. Our youth ministry is also planning their winter youth retreat for February 16th to 18th at Camp Erev. The theme for this year is Mosaic, as our group explores all the unique aspects of our lives that are woven together by God's creative hands. Early bird registration is open for one more week and is $100 off the regular price, so make sure that you sign your teenager up soon. Scholarships are also available upon request through Pastor Ryan. Now, lastly, our Joy 50 Plus and Primetimers groups are having a joint New Year's breakfast next Saturday at 9 a.m. in the Fellowship Hall. This will be their first joint gathering and a way to extend the New Year's celebrations over a delicious bento lunch. If you're 50 and up and are wanting to hang out, then you're invited. RSVP through the link in my weekly email. Now, I hope to see you all as the new year kicks into gear, and I'm excited to do all of these things and life together. So now let's continue our morning with a time of worship.
Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it'll always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus, sing again. Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. Jesus be the center of your church. Jesus be the center of your church. And every knee will bow, and every tongue shall confess you, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus at the center of it all.
Now, as we begin this morning, I have a little icebreaker question for you. Have you made any New Year's resolutions? And if you have, then what are they? Or what is it? If you're watching this with your household or maybe with your home group, then you can take a moment and discuss this together. Now, this is our first Sunday of the new year, and many of us may be thinking about resolutions. Perhaps it's a self-promise to start going to the gym regularly, or maybe to quit some sort of unhealthy habit that you've accumulated over the years. And it's an appropriate time to think about these habit changes in our lives, because as the new year starts, it tends to symbolize a new chapter of life and kind of a fresh start for all of us. Now, historians actually attribute our tradition of making these self-improvement promises to the ancient Babylonians 4,000 years ago. Although their calendar year began actually in the spring, probably around March, they were one of the earliest societies to record celebrations to ring in the new year. Now, for the Babylonians, they entered a 12-day festival at the start of their year to plant new crops, since it was spring, and reaffirm the divine appointment of whatever king was in power at the time. Now, this would also be a time when they would make promises to their gods to settle debts from the previous year, and to keep their promises, ensured that the gods would then show favor upon them in the year to come. Now, the Romans also developed a custom of New Year's resolutions when their empire was kind of at the height of their power. Julius Caesar, who we all probably know, changed their calendar to use the one that we currently use in the West, where January 1st marks the start of the new year. And our first month being named not just after our worship pastor, but after a two-faced deity of doorways that look back actually onto the previous year while also looking forward to the coming year. Now, some scholars actually recognize this god, Janus, as the deity of all beginnings, and the start of certain time periods were considered sacred to him. Thus, the Romans offered sacrifices, like the Babylonians, and made promises of good conduct to Janus at the beginning of January. Sound familiar? Now, that's all ancient history, but in relatively modern history, there are two main iterations of this in practice today. In 1740, John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, created what's called the Covenantal Renewal Service that churches usually held on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Congregations would gather and renew their covenant to God, sort of like a recommitment to their discipleship process. Now, in black churches, these New Year's gatherings were called watch night services, and they recalled the coming together of African American congregations on New Year's Eve of 1862, awaiting the news that the Emancipation Proclamation had come into law at the stroke of midnight. Now, both of those traditions have continued and also embrace New Year's Eve services sort of as a religious alternative to kind of the wild New Year's Eve parties that are held in the public today. And so you see sort of the descendants of these services that churches have today. And in these services, a lot of people make resolutions for the coming year. Now, maybe some of you come from church backgrounds with services like these. Well, it's no surprise then that the church would embrace a theme of New Year's resolutions just kind of throughout the land. Not only is there precedent throughout ancient and kind of modern history, but the idea of a new chapter in life and kind of a new chance of living your life are a major part of our faith. I think of Philippians chapter 3, where Paul says, "Not that I have already obtained this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." Now, Philippians 3 is obviously not about New Year's revolution specifically. Paul is presenting his sort of internal drive to pursue this relational knowledge of Christ. Even as the one who is writing all these epistles to these first churches, Paul talks about this forward movement to forget about what's behind and run toward the goal of knowing Jesus more fully. The entire Christian life embraces this posture that we're always in pursuit of a deeper relationship with Jesus. And in doing so, we are continually being refined and transformed and perfected as people. There's never a point when God stops working with us or working on us, where in some way we are not being transformed into what we call the new humanity or the new creation. And so New Year's resolutions just kind of seem like an appropriate practice for Christians to embrace everywhere. Now, maybe you've already made your resolutions for this year, and first thing Monday morning, you're telling everybody in your circle that you're headed to LA Fitness and you're going to start that new kind of regimented workout. Of course, after this morning's juk and mochi park in the church gathering. But whether or not you have already made a resolution, this morning I want to leave you with one devotional question to reflect on. I think it will actually prepare your mind and heart for what we'll be talking about as a church in 2024 when we introduce the annual theme next week. And I'm not going to reveal it now. That's for next week. Now, the question is this: what kind of person do you want to be at the end of 2024? You see, this carries the spirit of a New Year's resolution, but it's a little bit different because instead of resolving to maybe one particular action, I wanted us to reflect on what kind of person we want to become. How do you want your heart to be shaped? How do you want your character to be formed? What kind of person do you want to be at the end of this year? This is something that you can prayerfully consider with God, or maybe reflect on with your home group or in your household. And my hope is that this will stir something deep in you that leads to more than just kind of a gym membership that you bought on a whim, but a pursuit of who God desires you to be. Think about that this week, and we can continue the conversation throughout all of the remainder of the year. Beloved, have a wonderful start to the year, and may God bring surprising blessings for both you and all of your loved ones in the coming year. See you in service next week. Grace and peace.